Felyn, we come back to you into some of your myriad interactions leading up to you getting your friends back. You do not know when this waiting and this planning will end. And so it is just a matter of preparing and holding people close and trying to stay ready. But today is probably the first day that you've been able to step back from that. Because at the end of the day, your obligation to your den is different than your obligation to anyone else. As they are your family, they're where you came from, and they're where you will be continuing to go. And you try to give them the most that you can in this moment by not tainting such a happy day with some of the more serious things that you've been dealing with. As you get your scroll from Dariga and you go back to Rasona. Is there anything that you want to do before you teleport in? Anything you do before you approach the house?
I think... I want her to get like a gift of some kind.
Oh, okay. What kind of gift are you thinking?
I don't know. Either like blanket or plush.
Oh, that would be really good. You know, both would be really good. I think that either of them would be enjoyable by a new edition. I will tell you though, unless you're interested in purchasing another thing to keep this that you have, you do have a plushie on you.
I do. I was thinking about that.
And that could be really cute. Because I think you have I think you have the Inkling one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll bring that.
I see. Okay, so you approach the house.
Yes.
So as you approach the house, sort of ready to put a smile on your face with gifts and looking forward to seeing how things have progressed, you see a semi-familiar face in the form of Vuk, going to sort of kind of not sprint, but move kind of briskly across this sort of courtyard, 2 cups in hand.
I think Felyn will just call out their name and wave.
You see them do a whole like freeze mid-step, catch themselves, step backwards, look over at you, in this sort of dramatic and not as put together as they normally are of your very artistic, fanciful changeling denmate. And you see them go to give this sort of sigh that makes their shoulders slump, but you can see this sort of tired smile that they give you as they kind of go over to you. And 2 things that you notice with your sort of high passive perception is you can tell that these cups are the smell of strongly brewed coffee. And you can see changelings don't have to have a sort of true form, but there are like forms that and things that can show through in certain forms. And you can tell that in this moment, Vuk has not thought to throw up any shifting to make themselves look better in this moment, as you can see that they have these sort of like heavy bags under their eyes that are not usually a thing that they let people see that they have. And they go to hand you a cup and sort of pat you on the back to walk you through, and say, I suppose you stopped by just in time.
Are the little gifts of joy already here, or are they on the way?
Already here. We're approaching the first week, which is really exciting.
Oh, I cannot wait to see little face.
Don't worry, I think Min will be happy to let you see them too. It's been, well, you know. 10 already is a bit of a handful, let alone an extra 2 in the house.
Oh, so it was twins.
It was twins.
Oh!
And you see from their demeanor that Vuk looks extremely tired, but there is a sort of quiet happiness to them as they talk about it, full of fondness. And as they walk you through, they go to kind of fill you in that it was twins. They have so for clarification, this is something that Felyn might know technically, but also might not, so Vuk would probably re-explain regardless. I have given Rosona changelings a very specific cultural thing where they actually wait a little bit before they name a child. Culturally, it would be to make a bond before giving a name to a child or like seeing a bit of their personality. People do it for different reasons, but culturally, the babies haven't been named yet. And it should be today that they get named. They will also explain that both Min and Rast have been pretty scattered since the additions. And neither of them work right now, but the den is sort of supporting them so they can have this time to kind of become stronger as like a family and like get resituated. And like they, as they're talking about this, they kind of go to give you like this sort of like long-suffering smile, and they say, but they're happy and they're healthy and they're beautiful. What more can we ask for? And with that, you will be kind of ushered into the Changeling family's house. And as Vuk starts to kind of go up, Tem seems to be down for a rest, and Rast is sort of like nodding off on like a couch. And Vuk kind of carefully goes to set down a cup of coffee there, after stealing a sip, of course. And then you both kind of go up into the bedroom where you see Min glowing, if also the same brand of exhausted, and sort of bouncing one newborn in her arms, and the other one is sort of laying between her knees, swaddled up. And her whole face lights up when she sees you come in to see them. And as you come in closer, you get to kind of see that changeling babies are kind of really interesting to look at. You saw this with Tem, but when changeling babies haven't had a chance to sort of open their eyes, and changeling babies, whenever they look at people who are formative in their life, they will naturally mimic certain features, and that's how they figure out what they want to look like, right? But whenever they haven't had their eyes open very much yet, they don't know what features to really put on their face. So parts of them look a bit flat, and they look a bit squishy, and like almost like an unformed dough of a humanoid, but it's really cute.
Oh no!
And they're sort of just sleeping while Min rocks them, and she reaches out a hand to sort of grab your hand, and she kind of just whispers, I'm really glad that you could be here.
Automatically, eyes are wet, emotional.
Yeah!
She's going to put an arm around Min to try and give it a careful hug without disrupting baby. And is just going to look at the two little newborns and say, they're beautiful.
Yeah. And you see that she's also starting to tear up now because she loves you and you're here and they're talking about their babies. And she's gonna kind of go to make this motion as if offering for you to. Okay. Okay, and we're back. And we left off with Min, sort of like not really saying, like, oh, you should hold one. But like, you know, whenever parents will kind of like move their arms when they're holding a baby, that's like gesturing for you to take one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll hold the baby.
Hold the baby. It's... You yourself have been a mother, and you yourself have been around during other births in this den. But I think something really fascinating about children specifically is that there is something inside of you that is always surprised and awestruck by how small they are and how precious they are.
Yeah. And Felyn is just gonna... Oh, what?
Oh no, I was just gonna say it wiggles a little bit in its sleep, but you go ahead.
Wiggle!
Yeah.
Felyn's gonna rock it a little bit and just look down at them with all the love in the world. And is going to say, welcome to the world, little one. You're here.
They're here. About time, right? She's gonna kind of lean back on the headboard and smile up at you and say, I really mean it. You know, I'm glad you could be here because little ones are gonna have their name day today, and it sounds silly. I wanted your help naming them.
Woman, I would be honored. She's gonna kind of join Min, like sat back against the headboard, and is gonna just look at the dough babies and tilt her head.
And you guys have this sort of moment in bed together where you're sitting together and you both sort of have a baby in your arms as you sort of look at them. And something that you noticed whenever you're walking into the room, but I forgot to mention, is that Min was sort of kind of idly like praying and sort of meditating. Your den is a very devout one. And I like in this moment, as it's not really a ceremony, but you both sort of sit together and pray and think over these little babies to help come up with names. I would legitimately love to hear what you would name these babies, but I have names prepared if you can't think of any.
I would love to hear the names.
This is so cheesy, but I wanted to name them Dawn and Dusk.
Ow!
I thought it would be really cute if they had light-based names.
Yeah! Beautiful names!
Little babies.
Little babies! Very fitting for twins.
I think so as well. Just similar enough, but enough room for them to be themselves, you know? I don't have anything else to add. I'm just soft. I like babies.
I'm just sounding like babies. I feel like Felyn would do something about just like idly musing about like, I wonder what path they'll take. I wonder what they'll be when they grow up.
Yeah. I think that you and Min kind of wax poetic about it because I think Min goes on this tangent about how they are really lucky to grow up in a den like this because everybody is so varied. I feel like it's kind of common to find dens, especially smaller dens, where people are maybe really similar, or they take a similar path, or they have a similar, like, sphere of job, or they all work at the same business. But I think that a real boon that your den has always had as a den that was technically started by a group of misfit orphans, that there's kind of always this support to be like who you are and to really stand out. So I feel like Min is really happy that they'll be able to grow up in a environment like that.
Yeah. I feel like after a while, just sitting with Min and the babies, and we'll lay baby back down. Then we'll sort of clasp our hands together. Say, well, my dear, I am at your disposal for the entirety of the day. I so wish I could stay longer. But in the meantime, anything you need, anything I can do to help, let me know. Okay?
Of course. I'll send Vuk around to come grab you. Thankfully, they've been my little gopher these past couple of days.
Yes, I saw them on their way here.
I'm really thankful for them and the help. But you have other people to see, and honestly, I should take this time where they're not crying and fussy to get some sleep. Probably.
Yes. Please rest.
Make sure to give the news to the others, okay?
Of course.
Yes. And with that, Min is going to try to sort of lean back and get comfy on her mound of pillows as you leave. A sort of a quiet light in your heart.
Yeah.
What else do you want to do while you're here? Do you think you seek out Nim immediately? Do you think you talk with family for a little bit?
I think, because I do imagine that she's going to be here for the whole day. I'm imagining this is on a free day.
Oh, yeah.
So I feel like she generally touches base with everyone, catches up with what everyone's doing, does anything in her power to help Min and the fam.
Yeah. I definitely didn't have much else written for anybody else in the family because kind of everybody has sort of mobilized to help out with the fact that there is new additions. So everybody else is sort of like working, also helping out, helping to provide as well. So you definitely touch base with everybody and kind of get an idea of like if they need anything, how that's been going, that sort of thing.
Yes. I think Felyn will specifically seek out Nim at like the end of the day.
Okay.
When everyone's kind of starting to settle down as much as they can with two newborns around.
Yeah, literally. I think you find Nim whenever things are starting to wind down for the night, probably in your library. Probably casually reading over something in a chair.
Nice. I think... Felyn is gonna kind of try to like sneak up behind him. And then do a thing of like tapping one of his shoulders, but then immediately moving to the other side and sitting down.
I'm gonna roll something really quick because that's really fun. That's really cute. You see that the tap goes to almost get him, but I feel like as you sort of excitedly go to quickly move to try to catch it, you hear him give a sort of chuckle, and he says, "Hello, Felyn."
Oh, spoiler sport.
If you want to keep getting me, you'll have to find new tricks.
I suppose I'll have to get creative.
He goes to kind of give you a warm smile and says, I haven't had a chance to tell you how it's been really nice to see you again after. It's been, oh gosh, must be 2 months now?
Yes, time is really flying.
It's true. It's not terribly long, but it's still surprising. It's probably one of the biggest times you've been away since you came back to us.
Okay. Feels like it's been longer than it has been, to be honest.
You see, he goes to kind of look at you as you say that, and he goes to close his book as he sort of kind of looks at you and says, Has school been alright? And it's sort of like a almost hesitant probing of a question.
Ooh. How much is Felyn willing to share?
How much is Felyn willing to share? Also, tell me what your passive insight is.
You know? Let me see. Your passive insight is 16.
You can tell that he has picked up that there is something wrong. I'm very excited to see how much Felyn is willing to share, but the last time you visited and this time are drastically different, and you feel like he is picking that up.
Yes. I feel like Felyn kind of debates for a second on, like, trying to perhaps obscure some things for the sake of not stressing him out. But sees that he already knows that something is clearly wrong.
Yeah.
And she loves him and doesn't want to hide stuff from him. So she's gonna sigh. And she's gonna kind of lean on the table on her elbows, and she's going to say, to be honest, the school itself has been wonderful. Don't misunderstand me. It's been a wonderful experience. However, we have run into some challenges.
I think in the middle of you talking, as you lean on the table, he's already going to reach out to put a hand sort of on your wrist that's on the table.
She will let him.
It's very interesting to think about what you're going to say, because you haven't even shared that you're planeswalkers yet, I don't think, besides
Yeah,
the
that's
initial
the
letter. Like, nobody here knows what that means.
Yeah! Hey, Name, you got time for a quick fucking lesson on planeswalking?
Literally. I'm extremely excited to see what Felyn would even say this far in now. A lot has happened.
A lot has happened. I feel like... Yeah, I feel like she's not gonna want to hide, like, anything at this point. I feel like she's gonna try and explain as best she can.
Nice. I would love for you to give me that in your own words. I love semantics, you see.
Felyn's gonna kind of, like, think for a hot minute, try to think about how to put everything into words in a way that won't take a million years. She's gonna clasp her hands together. She's gonna say, so you remember from the letter it mentioned planeswalking?
Yes, I did. There's very little, and by very little I mean no mention in texts hear about such things. But I assume you've learned quite a bit about it since you left?
Yes, we have. I have learned that the reason I got that letter, that invitation, as well as a number of other beings from various planes of existence. There is an ability, I suppose, that some people possess, called a spark, and it allows someone to essentially planeswalk at will.
Oh.
Yes. However, it is sort of in almost like a dormant state. It's not, none of us are able to use it yet, at least as far as I know. And we have learned that what makes it not dormant is a lot of stress. Part of why we were all gathered there is because one of the professors, who is a planeswalker herself, has been endeavoring to make it so that when we do spark, it can be in a safer and more controlled environment. It's like getting harder for her to talk as she goes on. One of my friends, who I have come to feel very close to, has sparked. And we didn't know where she was for a long time. We know where she is now. And we're working on a plan, but I still... There's a lot we don't know still, and I still don't know for sure if we can get her back, and I...
What do you mean you didn't know where she was?
When she sparks, we can't... There's no way of knowing where the spark sent her to. When you spark, it shoots you out into the multiverse to God knows where.
You see something very interesting play out in Nim's face, and Nim is still holding onto your wrist, and you see as you start to get more and more upset, he sort of goes to squeeze your wrist as he hears you talk more and more about this thing. And you were married to this man, and you live with this man, and this is a man that you love and care for, and regardless of what your relationship now, he has always been a confidant. You know him better than any other person you have ever known in your life, either of your lives. And so you know that even though he is schooling his expression, you know the tells of when he himself is starting to get... Concern is too light of a word for how he's looking at you when you tell him these things. And he kind of goes to quietly say, that's a lot more dangerous than any of us were told. You
Yes.
especially.
It's quite a lot more than I thought I was signing up for. I have learned a lot while I have been there, and ultimately I am relieved in a sense that I now know these things, because otherwise who knows what would have happened otherwise. but it's a lot.
Felyn, these are dangerous lines to be playing with. It can just send you to another plane entirely by yourself.
Yes.
You're already so far from home now, and you can feel what he is insinuating.
Yeah. Felyn just kind of nods solemnly. I did not. I may not have exactly signed up for this in the beginning. I am signing up for it now, though.
You see him go to lean back a bit. He doesn't stop touching your hand, but you see him kind of lean back a bit once you say that and sort of look at you. And he gives almost this sort of small laugh that feels almost wry to it as he says, "When you were consecuted after we were already married, I never expected just how much growing you would do without me."
You are always with me.
And you see his other hand goes to kind of lace his fingers with you. And Nim is I don't want to say old man as like a phrase, but he is an older man. He has been around as an elf, and a admittedly kind of mature elf at this point. But he sort of squeezes your hands in a way that makes you feel like he doesn't want to let go, at least for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that he doesn't really have advice for this situation, but I think that at the very least he kind of just sits with you as you both kind of sit in the elephant in the room that is what can happen to your soul when it's already been through so much, when you are so far away from the beacon, the Luxon.
Mm-hmm. I think this is of course, an emotional moment.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like for Felyn there is the added layer of this is the first time she's telling somebody at home
Mm-hmm.
all about this, and so there is simultaneously a weight off her shoulders and also a guilt because now he just has to kind of sit with this knowledge.
It's really hard too, because I've mentioned this to you before, and you've also mentioned this when you interact with the party, but it's not something that's like at the forefront of how you talk about yourself. But you are the matriarch here, And I feel like there is always this sort of assumption that you are in control, and there is this sort of pressure that I'm sure that you put on yourself, but it's still a pressure that you feel to take on a lot of things yourself because of the kinds of things that people would come to you with anyway. And I feel like it is nice, in a way, to be able to talk about this, because you guys have not really shared with non-planeswalkers very much at all what's happening. But it's also hard to be vulnerable when you are supposed to be the backbone of this home. Yeah. Sorry to wax poetic, it's just sad.
It's just I think Felyn is gonna kind of like. I feel like she hasn't been like crying TM, but I feel like there's been a little bit of letting some tears loose. And she's going to take a breath. She's going to say, "No, this wasn't even what I came here to talk to you about."
Sorry, I've had a perpetual problem with nosiness, I've learned.
That's why I stick with you. But she kind of squeezes his hand. I know we have not talked about it much. How's she gonna word this?
I'm very interested to see how you're gonna word this. If you want to think about it for a second, I do have to run to the bathroom. I will let you scheme.
Yeah.
Okay, we're on.
Think Felyn squeezing his hand and looking at his bracelet, his little marriage bracelet. She's gonna kind of take her other hand to sort of idly touch it.
Okay.
And is going to say, It's been a long time since my first life, and even longer since we acted like we did then. She's gonna clasp his hand that is holding hers in both of hers, and is going to hold it to her chest. Is going to look at him. You will always be the nearest and dearest, the closest to my heart, and I will always love you. And it is not the same as it used to be.
You see him go to kind of nod. It's been something that's kind of been unspoken between the both of you for a long time, but it is also an immutable fact that it is different than it was. And neither of you have quite found the footing in it, but you see some of the emotion from earlier is still kind of on his face, but he goes to like take in this sort of deep breath and give out a sigh and kind of look in your eyes with a sort of expressionless face, and goes to say, "Are you breaking up with me right now?" And then at the end you see the little edge of like a smile peek up as his dry sense of humor is trying to lighten the conversation a little bit.
Flynn does laugh a little at that.
Thanks, I thought it'd be funny.
Just going to pat his hand. He's going to say, maybe not forever, but at least I don't want to tie you to this. At least not in the same way that it was.
You see him go to put, as you hold his hand in yours, he puts a hand over yours as you kind of both sit here in this moment at the table. And he says, I suppose for a long time I've sort of expected this conversation to just manifest. And I thought that I never had to worry about when to start it. But I've had a long time to think about this. A bit longer than you have. And he kind of tries to bring a bit of levity to it again, and he says, you know, there's support groups for this type of thing. The waiting. Surprisingly common. But what I'm getting at is I've had a long time to think about my feelings on the matter, my thoughts, and which feelings are true and which feelings have requisites, I suppose. Not that I think that there is a time limit on these sorts of things, but I am old and set in my ways. I have decided that regardless of if your wings fly you back to me, I will be devoted to you. Because you are my family and this is my family. And things like the passion that bards write about isn't a requisite for that. But you don't have to be beholden to anything just because I'm here. I hope that you can know that. And not just in your brain, but in your heart.
Man!
Thanks. I think he's gonna say one last thing. I'm having a hard time wording it, but I think that he says something along the lines of, romance might not be in the cards for me anymore, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't have to for you. I think is another thing that he would try to say as a part of this. Yeah.
Nicole's just gonna hug him.
Yeah. He's chronically married.
Chronically married!
I'm just really soft, and I feel like you'll be able to pick this up with your, like, insight, but, like, he loves his partnership with you so much that he doesn't feel the need for it to have to change or morph. Like, the idea of, like, he is like, I will take what you can give to me and that's not gonna change what I give to you, is, like, really sweet, and not even in a bittersweet way, because he's not sad. Like he said, he's old. He's had a lot of time to think about if he would need something back for it. He had a lot of time to think about, I can only do this if she decides to do this, or I'm only willing to wait if it's XYZ. But I think that he is just like, yeah, this is my family. You're my kind of wife. I love you.
You're gonna make me emo, what the fuck?
I'm sorry, I like him.
I like you! That's my husband, kinda!
Yeah. Yeah, literally. Who knows, maybe in a couple years you can try to hook him up with somebody, but he doesn't care.
Yeah.
Man.
One's gonna kind of sit back and wipe her cheeks again. This is a much heavier group of conversations than I had been intending.
I'm sorry if I came a little strong there.
If anything, you made the conversations lighter, dear.
I think that he is gonna kind of... I feel like it's hesitant because you guys don't share this kind of physical intimacy as much anymore, but I think that he also is gonna kind of take a thumb to dry some of the wetness on your cheek and, like, touch your cheek a little bit to kind of give you some support in this moment.
I feel like Felyn doesn't have much to say. I feel like she might have some more light conversation to try and ramp down from that. I do think she would mention to him that she will trust his judgment if he wants to share the planeswalking stuff with the den.
Yeah.
She is lightly concerned because she doesn't want to stress anybody out.
I think that Nim would agree with your concern in a way that is like... I think both of you can agree on this feeling of being the oldest people in this den, as well as, not in a disparaging way, but you are also two of the most magically adept and educated in the den. And that is not a negative on anybody else, but I think what Nim would add to this conversation, and Nim would be like, I am worried that this would be above them, and they would not be able to sort of grapple with that sort of worry mixed with the existential nature of that. Because I have a question for you, because I do think that if you bring this conversation back up, I do think that Nim will circle back around to this. Do you tell Nim, like, do you actually talk to Nim about, like, do you touch on the idea of, like, I might die? Or is it just hanging in the air?
Ooh.
Because I think an angle of what Nim is trying to say is, like, I don't think a lot of the people here would be able to handle it because they are simple and kind people. And I do not, like, there is a difference between saying, I'm going to a magic school on another plane, and saying, I can travel the entirety of the universe, and I will not be able to control it. When even being in another country for consecuted folks is like what they do to execute you, you know?
Yeah. Oh man. I feel like had this been like pre Ashan and Motiva spark, she wouldn't have touched on it at all, but the shit shaking her up, she gonna talk about that with Nim, yeah.
Okay. I think, obviously, I think that it as a conversation is a very heavy one again, but it's less heavy with tears and it is more heavy with an almost sorrow that this could be a thing that happens and it is the worst case scenario. But I think something of note that Nim would put into your head for you to think about is the, like, if you discuss, like, I might die, you know, a lot of people have access to, like, reviving magics and that sort of thing, but, like, I could die, and, like, I can only hope that I will be able to, like, eventually get home. I can only hope that I won't permanently die while I'm out there. Nim would bring to you the idea of, you don't know how that sort of thing will affect your soul now, with how it is tied to the Lexit. Because I personally don't think it has been a thing that has been tried if a consecrated individual died away from the beacon, because I think most of them who have done that have been with the intent of not bringing them back. So that's the thing to think about. That's the thing that Nim's worried about. Nim is just like, I mean, you can say that. Who knows what's going to happen if that happens. Let alone with the spark thing. Who knows? Is that a part of your soul? What, like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's a lot of existential things, but it's because both of you kind of are very keyed into the way that this works, that it's sort of just like, I don't know, just food for thought, I suppose.
Food for thought, food for thought.
Yeah. That's how that conversation goes.
Death, love, and planeswalking.
Yeah, smiley face.
Smiley face.
I should name that what this. I should. Oh wait, no, because as a solo thing, it doesn't get a name. Dang it. That would have been a really good. Maybe I'll name Extraction that.
Ooh.
Writing it down in my notes. Yeah. Okay, it's in my notes.
Nice. I'm gonna be right back. I have to check my blood pressure.
Do it. So, I press play again. Is there anything else you want to do in Rosohna? It'll probably be something done kind of quickly, or just being like, I do this, I say this, I buy this, that sort of thing, before we move on to the next scene.
I kind of want to have her buy something, but I don't know what.
That's so fair. If you want, we can go to the next one, and then you can just tell me, because you spent all day there. If you just tell me, like, hey, I wanted to get this in Rosohna, I'd be like, yeah, chill.
Hell yeah.
That's the beauty of time skips, baby. Okay, so then we're going to move to the next one. And we're going to keep the music for that one, because it's kind of like soft, kind of somber music. As we go to your meeting with Motiva's mothers. So, tell me a bit about the setup for that. Tell me what, if you're bringing anything, if you're doing anything, how do you want to mentally prepare for this?
I feel like Felyn has gathered, like, everything she's written down thus far about the Motiva situation.
Mm-hmm.
Just to show them in case they want to see.
Okay.
I feel like she's generally trying to mentally prepare herself, because I think she's trying to approach this from the perspective that she herself was a mother. And knows how upset she would be if her son had been in this situation.
Yeah, it's kind of fucked.
It's kind of fucked. But yeah. And she's bringing Uli with her.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. There's no better way to begin than by beginning. You get a scroll from Dariga, and you explain the situation of, I need one of Motiva's specific scrolls because I'm going to go tell her mother about what's happening, blah, blah, blah. And it takes a little bit to actually edit the scroll, because I've mentioned this lightly, but a lot of the ways that the scrolls work is that they are tapping specifically into, like, the person's spark and latent magic and their connections. So using one of these scrolls when the person isn't present is actually kind of difficult. But it only takes them an hour or two of you waiting before they feel like it'll work. And so you go, and sorry, let me get this guy. You end up in a familiar looking driveway, almost the same as the last time you visited with Motiva and Chad in tow. But this time you are alone, as the only difference is the deep snow drifts that coat the yard and the eaves of the large, happy yellow house. The temperature outside is one that you almost didn't expect, as it starts to sort of bite at your bones in a way that makes you want to hurry to the house. What are you doing in the lead up?
She is hustling.
Yeah, it's cold as fuck out here. I don't know if you know this. The Great Lakes get cold as shit in the winter.
Could not imagine why.
Yeah, almost like wind and lake effect happens. But you go up to the door and you sort of knock, and you see after a little bit the door opens, and you see a familiar woman. Actually, no, I think a different one would answer this time. I think you see an unfamiliar woman. You see this person also is sort of pale-skinned, blonde hair, similar to how Ansa, the mother you met, looked, but with this sort of short, coiffed hair, this sort of wide body type, very muscular. And she looks down at you, and she kind of tilts her head a bit inquisitively and says, "Hello?"
Hello. You are one of Motiva's moms, yes?
Yeah. One sec. And you see her go to look over her head and call something into the house in a language that you're not familiar with. And then you hear a very familiar voice kind of screech back from deeper into the house, as the woman goes to move to the side and let you in and says, my wife says I can't leave you out to freeze if you're a friend of our kid, so come on in.
Thank you.
And you are sort of brought in, and the house has a sort of warmth to it, a homeliness that you also remember. As you're kind of led to the kitchen, as you see Ansa, the mother that you met, sort of putzing around the kitchen, cooking, chopping up vegetables and cooking and simmering a stew on the stove, kind of gesticulating with the knife that she's using to cut things as she's talking, to another woman sitting down, same pale-skinned blonde hair, but this time sort of long and wavy, with a more severe sort of expression on her face. And I have what these guys look like.
Ooh.
This is the one that answered the door.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, this is Ansa, the one that you recognize.
Hello, ma'am. Again.
And then this is the last one.
Ooh.
Yes. They all look very Finnish, and you see the resemblance to Motiva and to each other is uncanny. As you're sort of ushered in, and Ansa excitedly is like, "Oh, yes, you're one of Motiva's little friends. Dear, this is Felyn, wasn't it?
Yes, that is right.
Where's that sweet Polish boy you brought last time?"
Oh, he is back at school still.
Oh, okay, well, That's fine. I didn't really anticipate guests yet, but I can squeeze in a few more portions. Where is that rascally girl?
That is actually what I came to talk to you all about. I am afraid I have some news.
News? And you hear that that's actually the one that hasn't talked to you yet speak up, the one with long hair. As the other two kind of pause to look at you, you see that that woman in particular is sort of pinning you with a very piercing gaze. One that feels a bit uncomfortable already.
I am already feeling the fear of God.
Oh, now? Oh. Oh man, you're not gonna like the rest of this encounter.
Oh my god! Felyn is just going to kind of solemnly nod. And say, may I sit down?
You see the one with short hair kind of goes to kick out a bar stool next to her, for you and says, "You're welcome in our home. Make yourself a guest."
Felyn will kind of nod and go to sit down. And she's going to take out some of the journals that she brought with her and just kind of set it in front of her on the counter. And Felyn knew that Motiva had been planning on coming home for Halloween and she didn't, right?
Yes.
Yes. I think Felyn is going to compose herself as best she can and say, I must preface this with everything that can be done is being done currently. I am afraid that Motiva is currently somewhat missing. We know where she is. Plans are in motion to get her back. I felt it was crucial to tell you.
How can someone be almost missing? And it's that same long-haired woman. From the corner of the table, her coffee now long gone cold.
So almost missing in the sense that we do know where she is. We are currently unable to get to her, but we are making plans to get to her as soon as possible.
An interesting thing happens in this room that you're in. And it's gradual enough that you don't really start noticing until it gets hard to meet the gaze of the women around you. But the first thing that you notice is that the shadows in this room seem to be getting too long. And then another thing you realize is that even though the house was warm when you came in from the freezing cold, you start to feel sweat drip down the back of your spine as it is suddenly unbearably hot in this room in a way that you cannot fathom how that happened. What's your passive perception again? Is it 16 also?
Yeah.
Um, you're scarily aware that Ansa has not put down the knife. And you see the woman who gave you the chair next to her, the woman with the short hair. You see she is looking at you in a way that is not as scathing as the long-haired woman's, and not as scary as Ansa's. But you're aware of how much bigger she is as she turns to look at you and stand up. And she is going to ask you in a voice that feels like it is trying to be even. Where is my daughter?
Felyn is going to go ahead and grab top journal on the pile and is going to hand it to her.
Okay. She immediately starts opening it to read as you start talking.
Yes. I am unaware of how much Motiva has told you about the college and why we are there. She is currently on a different plane of existence, known as Ravnica. Luckily, Ravnica is where the nice Polish boy is from.
You see the short-haired woman go to sort of nod as she's sort of flipping through journals. She doesn't quite get fully through it before the one with long hair goes to reach for it, almost snatching it out of her hand to also start reading from the beginning. And as you're sort of explaining that, Ansa circles the kitchen island to come over to you. And you can hear how her accent, which is normally indiscernible, kind of gets thicker. You hear her go to kind of mutter, "Find her. You said that you were going to get her, right?
Yes.
You swear it, that you'll get her."
I would like to point out something interesting here.
Yeah?
Because whenever Felyn has talked to anybody else in Strixhaven,
Yeah.
or even to Nim,
Yeah.
she made a point to be like, we don't know for sure.
Yes.
She is looking into this woman's eyes with pure fucking determination and just says, yes.
Do you mean that? I need to know that.
Yes.
Okay. You see her look at you. And you see her stare into your eyes in a way that is... It is hard to describe to you, Felyn, because you come from a place where religion seeps into your entire culture, but it is a religion that is not a personable one. It is one that is introspective, reflective. It is based on the individual person, on the soul, very metaphysical. You have never thought about the weight of looking at something that is above what you are, that is of a higher power than you. Looking into the eyes of this woman, Ansa, who has welcomed you into her home, that has nagged Motiva and treated her like a precious daughter, you understand why some cultures consider spirits their gods. And she holds out her hand to you.
I take it?
And she says one more time, almost as if she's talking to herself, "Swear it to me." And she takes the knife in her hand and drags it across your palm. And as soon as that happens, she goes to delicately balance the knife horizontal so that there are numerous drops of blood that will not fall onto the ground. And you notice something in that moment. It was so quick that it was hard for you to notice anything but the unnervingness of this encounter, of the pain of the knife in your hand. But as Ansa holds your hand, you realize that her hand is boiling hot.
Oh god!
It is not enough to burn you, but it is enough to sting when she finally lets go of your hand and goes to walk back around the kitchen table, pulling off what looks like a stoneware bowl to drop some of the blood in the knife. And she balances it carefully on it and goes to walk over to the journals that the long-haired woman is still reading. And without flourish, without flounce, without the motherly warmth that you are familiar with seeing from Ansa, she just says, "You can leave now. We have work to do." They do not offer your journal back to you. They are trying to keep it.
Oh my god.
That was a lot, but tell me how Felyn's feeling, because I think that happened so quickly it would have been hard for you to have a reaction in the middle of it.
That's the thing. I think. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I think she's like staring at her palm that is now fucking bleeding.
It's not a small scrape either. I don't think that you'll get serious damage from it. But you like have blood welling up in your hand.
Yeah. I think Felyn just looks at it for a second. She's gonna look to her journals. She's gonna look to Ansa. Oh god.
If you think Felyn takes a second to say anything, I think Ansa would say something to you if you're like looking around the room like that.
Yeah, okay.
I think Ansa would kind of ask, her voice still in the way that it's been since you started talking seriously. And she's going to ask, "Do you need me to fix that for you? Can you not fix it yourself?"
Can I? Ooh. Okay, hang on. Okay, question.
Yeah.
Because she cut Felyn's palm and said, "Swear to me,"
Yeah.
but then walked away.
Yes.
So she didn't wait for Felyn to swear something.
No, she did not.
I think Felyn is just going to hold the palm and say, "Do I not still have to swear?"
I think she takes a second to consider you. And she is going to say to you, in what seems honest, "The blood is what I needed. The oath is already made."
She will nod. She will go ahead and cast Cure Wounds on herself.
Okay.
Just to stitch it up.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's gonna look to Ansa and is just gonna say, "I'm going to need a copy of my journals."
What's up?
I'm going to need a copy of my journals.
Hmm. You see Ansa go to look towards the woman with long hair who is still almost feverishly reading these journals, and she goes to say something in that same sort of language that you don't understand. And the woman reading the book goes to kind of slam it shut and put it on the table. And you can feel the roil of anger from this one in particular. But she goes to put a hand on the cover of the journal, and you can also see, as well as hear, the slight sizzle of the heat of that palm on the leather of the journal. But in a second that is almost blurred, you now see that she has both hands on the table in two identical books.
Oh.
And she goes to hand you the one that has the singed handprint on the cover.
Damn.
But before you can grab it, if you go to grab it from her, she drops it on the table.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Felyn is just going to take it. I think she's going to say, I have to think about my wording.
You do. Wording's important where you're at right now.
They fucking hate me. I think she says this as she's like standing up and gathering her things, and is going to say, I give you this because I have been a mother, and I know that if something like this had ever happened to my boy, I would have razed Exandria to the ground. I have given you this not with the intent that I will give up on my own endeavors. We will get her back.
I want you to roll me a persuasion check right now.
It's only a +1. Okay.
What'd you get?
Not 20, not 20, not 20.
That's really cool. That's really cool. You see all three of them look to you in not a way that is softer, but in a way that is not as full of heat. And you still see the long shadows flickering as if the room is full of hearth fire. And Ansa is the one that speaks as she looks at you with an expression that is unfathomable, but you can feel the weight of sorrow touch you even from where you stand. Oh. Sorry, my cats are being very loud. But she looks at you and She says, the branch you offer us doesn't mean nothing, but you can't understand how much we have given up to ensure that our daughters would be safe. If we have given up all of this, and we lose even one, then it means it is for nothing.
What the fuck does that mean?
You see it takes her another breath as she looks at you, and she gives you a bow of her head and say, as long as the oath holds true, I thank you.
Felyn will nod. And give a little bow. And will say, I will remain in contact should more information come up.
You see her nod, and she goes back with her semicircle of the other mothers, and they will not acknowledge you the rest of the time that you're in here, as they are focused towards each other in this moment.
Yeah. And Felyn's just gonna go.
Yeah, that's fair. Do you make it outside of the house before you use the plane shift spell, or do you go outside? Do you just do it in the next room? How fast are you getting out of there?
Audi 5,000. I think she's gonna leave through the front door and then plane
Fair.
shift like on the doorstep.
Fair. How's Felyn feeling?
A lot.
Sorry that Motiva moms are scary.
They're so scary.
They're really
Cool,
scary.
They're fun, scary. They're fun for me. Citation.
I really like them. I think they're extremely interesting.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Delicious, phenomenal, fantastic. Do you want to do your little sendings now?
Yes.
That one's gonna be fun. Okay, let me get a new change. I'm gonna keep this music because I think it's just as heavy. I'm not gonna lie. All right. I have a lot of things to say. It's now about 1 week before it's been 2 full months. And you are desperate on the trail of these 2 people. You have heard precious little from Onyx as her work keeps her away, and you've noticed that she does not check in with you unless it is something urgent, it is something necessary. So there are large swaths of time where you all are left to sit and wait. And you make the realization that as you are approaching your 3 months of being in Strixhaven, that Motiva and Ashan are in an entirely other plane longer than they were here. And the interesting thing about your magic is that you come from a culture where it is a science. It is studied. It is well known. Some people may not be aware of where their abilities or spellcasting can come from, but you are not the only Luxon cleric. You have always been aware of the abilities that you used to have and the abilities that you are working towards again. You know that you don't have to ask for anything like other followers of deities do. That the Luxon in its wisdom does not answer those, but you have every tool at your fingertips to get more for yourself. You sit in deep meditation after reading and reading and reading, but you know that in this moment, you can't be Felindira or even Felyn. You need Zavine. You call on that older wisdom, that lived experience, that helps make you the person you are today, but here and now you need the power that you once had. The power that got you recognized by your Lord of Light. I need you to roll me an Arcana for the first sending, and you need to tell me which one you send first.
Use my fancy moon dice for this.
Yes.
Oh, and I can use my dice tower. 19 plus 5.
Okay.
And I am going to send to Ashan first.
Okay. The minute you let loose this magic that you know how to cast, you've been able to before, even though it has been a lifetime ago, you feel an agonizing splintering behind your eyes, like knives digging into the soft parts of your brain. In that same gasping breath, it feels like your heart is an ember burning its way through your body, like your body can't hold it. And in seconds, your energy drains from you, even as you feel your instincts go to defend yourself. You get to use up a first level spell slot, but you take on 2 levels of exhaustion.
Oh.
And you send out your sending hoping that it will land. And you get a response. I'm going to send it to you in DMs.
What? Asshole!
That's the answer you get. What do you do?
Oh my god. I think first she's gonna quickly just write down what he said. And then is going to squint at her writing down, "I already know you aren't coming." And is just gonna mutter to herself like, "Motherfucker." I think she's gonna try and compartmentalize that. She's gonna deal with that later.
Yeah.
Because seeing how that one exhausted her, she knows she needs to get something out to Motiva.
Mm-hmm.
She's gonna try sending to Motiva next.
Okay, roll your Arcana.
11 plus 5.
Okay. You feel that same sort of pain as it sort of racks your body in this sort of convulsions as you feel too hot. You are normally the person who relishes in the feeling of a noonday sun on your skin. But it feels like you are getting a sunburn from the inside out. As you now have 4 exhaustion. And it goes through.
Oh my god.
So, as you go to write this down, your body roiling from the agony it's putting upon you and the drain that it's giving you. For clarification, if you get 6 exhaustion, you die.
Yeah.
Not unconscious, you die, and you are at 4 now. But something really interesting happens to you after you send this, as you go to start writing this down, because I need you to make me a wisdom saving throw.
The fuck? 13 plus wisdom.
Yeah.
Wisdom save plus 6.
Okay, so what's the total?
19. 19.
19? Okay. There is a feeling that takes root in the pit of your belly. And I would only be able to describe it as an aggravation. Not an anger or even annoyance, but that special kind of grating on your bones when you know that something is wrong. When you know that you have to end that sensation immediately or you'll scream. For the first time since your anamnesis, you cannot stand the weight of your horns upon your head. In this moment, there is nothing more that you want than to feel yourself free of them.
I think Felyn is gonna let out a like a frustrated, like, groan yell. An expression of just effort and anger, and is going to completely ungracefully just take the horns off.
Okay. That gives you a relief, as that sensation is a literal weight off of you. And it's how strange you find it depends on Felyn, I think, but I will tell you that for at least a couple hours you don't want to have them on. And I will tell you another thing. So exhaustion is very interesting, because you have to spend a day per level of exhaustion to get rid of it. I will tell you, even though Felyn doesn't know this, that extraction is in 7 days. If you rest 1 day, you can only cast 1 more sending if you want to go into extraction without any exhaustion. And you can do that if you want, or you can elect to go in with more exhaustion if you want to send out more sendings. But if you're not willing to take that handicap, you can only send another response to one of these 2 individuals.
Oh my god!
I have crafted
Okay.
a special hell just for you.
A special hell just for me. Oh god. I think she's gonna send 1 more to Ashan.
Okay, write it out for me and I'll give you your response. How Felyn feeling right now?
She's feeling a lot.
Yeah.
Does Ameria sound familiar to me? Do I know that?
Actually, give me a second. Because it might.
Mm.
I want you to roll me a history because you might.
Oh. 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 15 plus 5?
So that's a 21.
Dirty 20.
Dirty 20, delicious. So, Ameria doesn't sound familiar to you, but the word skyclave does. Because one of the first pieces of kindness that Sean ever showed you guys as his roommates was he gave you a book on the history of the core people. And in it was discussed the Makindi Empire, which was an ancient precursor civilization on the plane of Zendikar that created flying fortresses as a way of upholding its totalitarian regime.
He's in Zendikar.
Seems like he might be. That's very interesting. I didn't take that into account. That's very good eye on ya.
Our friendship is helping him, motherfucker.
It's
You
true.
gave us a fucking book.
Wow, the layers.
Wow. Okay.
like Felyn. Yeah, fair. You're getting fucked up right now. Because, like, keep this in mind. If you rest the one day and send another one trying to be fast, you have 5 exhaustion, which means as soon as you get this answer, you pass out.
For real, for real.
Because you're at 0 speed. You can't move.
Yeah, fuck him. I am on the floor of the fucking dormitory.
Yeah, I love that. Very good flavor. I'm gonna send you a response really. Oh, I have to pause really quick.
Hello.
Cats are fed. I have crafted the return sending. And I will send it to you. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay, I switched it slightly, but here you go. Sorry for how he is. Always, and 100% always.
Oh boy. Go. God!
I think since you gave the flavor of being like sounded pissed off, I want you to roll me an insight.
Ooh. Ooh. Use my spacey die this time. 7 plus 6.
13?
Yes.
Okay, so something very interesting, and it's something that you didn't pick up on necessarily in the first sending from Ashan. Because it's pretty normal to seem erratic in a sending when you have such a limited amount of words. It is usually a strategic thing. You are picking up in this one, as well as the last one, that it feels like his voice sounds that staccato and fragmented, whatever voice you hear in your head during the sending. And by the time it gets to the end, when it says it's dangerous to move, don't fucking come, it is not in the same tired resignation of I know you aren't coming. It almost sounds like a plea of it's dangerous, don't come here.
Oh.
But do without what you will.
And whoop!
And I
Well, after Felyn wakes up from passing the fuck out, how does she gotta tell about this?
I'm very interested to see who you tell about this. I'm also very interested in, like, obviously, Motiva and Dev will be involved in this conversation, but I'm very interested to see who you would take for this extraction, now knowing that even Ashan, somebody who is very Daredevil says, "This is a dangerous place."
Yeah. Goddamn.
Is there anything else you would like to do in the mini session?
Not that I can think of. This is so much.
It is so much. I will go ahead and stop it so I can go ahead and upload it.